comment, and then he'll take questions.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, we're thrilled to have Coach Clawson continuing as the leader of our football program. As I said yesterday in the press release materials, Dave Clawson's an elite coach, and I believe he's building an elite football program at Wake Forest. So let me stop and take whatever questions that y'all have.
And I guess, what was the timing and how long has this been in the works?
Thanks, Connor. I talked to Coach Clawson the open week. You know, we had an open Saturday, and I didn't want to bother him with this kind of stuff on a game week. And I talked to Dr. Wente, our president, who's been an incredible advocate, supporter of athletics already in her relatively short time here at Wake Forest. But I talked to her earlier. You know, the contract that Dr. Hatch and Ron Wellman and Coach Clawson did in 2019 was a really good contract, and we didn't have to do anything now, Connor. But I really felt like that it would be in our best interest, and we appreciate Dave Clawson. Dave Clawson appreciates Wake Forest, and so I told him that opening weekend. I asked him if he would want to consider talking about an extension, and he was very appreciative. He obviously wanted to keep his focus on the football season, so I think if we had just been doing that, we could have gotten it done in 3 or 4 days then. But you know, you know, with the football games have been going on since then, and his focus on that and focus on recruiting and all that kind of stuff, the progression was a normal, natural progression to get to this point.
Given that timing and given how long ago you talked to him, is it safe to say there were overtures from other programs looking into Dave?
I wouldn't comment about anything like that, Connor. You know, this was a course of action that I felt was the right thing to do. Regardless of what other people thought about Coach Clawson, other schools, regardless about what our, you know, I think when we talked that first time, I think we were 6-0 or 5-0. But my belief in him and our program and the importance of long-term stability and leadership for our program really overrides anything that might be happening outside of Wake Forest.
John, what general terms can you tell us about the contract? I know, you know, given it's a private school, we're not going to get specifics. But generally speaking, you know, how long should we expect this contract to kind of lock Coach Clawson in? And what resources were given to him in terms of assistant coach retention and maybe recruiting budget, that type of stuff? Just get us some generalities.
Yeah. Les, those are great questions, and they're highly appropriate for you to ask. And you know that the answer is that personnel contracts at Wake Forest are private. I think that it's evident that Dave Clawson is an elite coach. I believe he's building an elite football program at Wake Forest. And I think that his contract and the ability to support him with great staff is augmented.
Can I ask them what maybe he considered were the main priorities in working through this one then?
I think that's really what you need to, that'd be a good question to ask him. You know, Coach Clawson has always indicated to me how much he loves Wake Forest and that he wants to be at Wake Forest. Coach Clawson also wants to win at Wake Forest, and we want him to win at Wake Forest. And we all know that the environment of college athletics is such that it's really, really dynamic. Les, I would also say that you know, we're probably in the most unstable, depending on your grammatic assessment there, time in the history of college athletics, which is saying a lot, right? To say it's the most unstable, unpredictable time in the history of college athletics. And anytime you're in a moment in time like that, continuation of excellent leadership, stability of leadership, all those, that is so critical. And President Wente articulated that incredibly well throughout this process to me, that this was really important for our ongoing growth as a university.
John, I'm assuming you were there when Coach Clawson announced to the team. If so, how did that take place? What was the scene like, and what was the reaction?
Les, I was actually not there. And I was not there because I had a commitment in Boston. I didn't stay at the team hotel last night. I spent some time in Boston with a few folks last night, so I was not there. But my understanding, and from what Coach Clawson and I had talked about, because I said, "Hey, Coach, I'm not going to be there if we do it at this time." And And he basically did not want a big scene about it. So I'm told that his conversation with the team was very matter of fact, to make sure that that they could continue not having any questions in their mind. I mean, they get notes and they get classmates asking them about their coach and their parents and all that kind of stuff. And so I think he handled it in a very matter of fact. His focus is on the team, and his focus is on winning this football game today.
I asked what the major priorities probably were for Coach Clawson, but conversely, what you can answer is what was the main priorities for John Currie and the Wake Forest administration?
My main priority and Dr. Wincy's priority is that we have a leader whose values fit the university's values, who's demonstrated over 8 years. 8 years is a pretty good sample size to watch somebody and how they manage and establish expectations for their student athletes as it relates to academics or character, all those kind of things. And when you have somebody that hits all those marks, there's no reason not to continue to show that you believe in that person and put that person in a position to have the right kind of resources, to continue to have a great staff and move forward.
John, do you expect Dave to retire as coach of the Demon Deacons on the way down the line?
Well, you're talking about a pretty young guy here, Connor. Certainly that would be good for me. I would love to. I'd love to never hire another football coach in my life. It's he's the right one for us and the right one for Wake Forest. I also look at P. Head Walker was our coach who won 77 games. Jim Grobe also won 77 games at Wake Forest. And I think when P. Head Walker left Wake Forest, he eventually went off to coach the Montreal Alouettes or something like that. And I'm told that way back when there wasn't a real commitment to keep P. Head Walker here, right? So I didn't want to have that on my hands. I do believe that Dave Clawson will be the all-time winningest football coach at Wake Forest. I believe that with all my heart, and we'll see how quickly that happens.
Hey, John, this is Ethan at the Journal. You've really seen a stretch of a lot of commitment to this football program, whether that's the donation for the locker room, for this contract for Dave. As far as, I know you're working on commitments all the time, but when you're having a season like this, how does it, kind of enhance or affect your ability to do that when you're talking to fans and donors and, trying to angle for security of the program as well?
Well, Ethan, we've had incredible support for our football program for a number of years. Certainly, this year has shown the return on the investment, so to speak, with the great wins, a great home atmosphere with sold out games. All those things are really validating to the people who've invested so much in the program, both individual contributors, the university, our board. All those things are validating. And certainly when you have things going in the right direction, you want to make sure that you've done everything you can to continue to provide that stability and support going forward.
If I may, gentlemen, could I ask a question? I'm Jerry DePaula, Pittsburgh Tribune Review. I cover Pitt football. I was wondering, how important is it for your football coach's contract to be competitive with that of other ACC coaches?
It's really, Wake Forest is going to do what Wake Forest needs to do to make sure Wake Forest has the right leadership. Money's not everything. And if you look around the national scene, so to speak, I don't think Dave Clawson wakes up and compares himself to other coaches based upon what his salary is compared to other coaches, right? So we want to make sure that we're investing in the right way, in a responsible way, and we believe this investment is just that.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jerry.
Hey, John, this is Brian with WFMI. Just you talking about everything nationally. For you, how special is it to see Wake Forest being talked about so much on the national level this year?
Brian, it's been great for our entire university. This is a national university, top 30 academic university in the country, and the level of excitement and the exposure the football program is providing the university is tremendous. We have special student athletes. You know, there's been great articles about Sam Hartman again this week that are bringing shining light on our university and shining light on Winston-Salem and the Triad community. I look at people like Bob McCrary and Ben Sutton and Alan Fox and Mitch Shaw and lots of others. I could go on down naming all these people who have ensured or worked to ensure that the resources were there for the program overall for the last number of years. And whether it's the facilities that I've mentioned, you know, with the McCurry complex you're talking about, which will get started on very shortly. You're talking about $100 million investment in Wake Forest football facilities over the last 5 or 6 years. So it's really gratifying to see all those people who have worked together be able to experience success like this. I'm also, you know, I'm very grateful to Dr. Hatch and Ron Wellman for their vision and leadership over their careers, you know, both having retired, but certainly very much part of this ongoing success.
Hey, John, Ralph Russo from the Associated Press. If I could get you to elaborate on something you had mentioned earlier. I know you're not going to tell us exactly how long Dave's contract is, but we're seeing these extra long football coaching contracts, these 10-year deals become, I mean, common. It's almost amazing to think that would be common. And you had mentioned the instability. Do you think that this is now going to become more the norm around college football, where if you feel like you have somebody who can provide you some stability, 8, 9, 10 years is not going to be an anomaly?
Ralph, I do believe the longer contracts are an appropriate trend in some respects. And, you know, certainly every contract's differently. And I will step outside the context of Wake Forest's football contract because, as Les heard earlier, we don't comment on specific terms. You know, ultimately, you got to look at a contract, no matter how long it is. It's really about what's the guarantee in the contract and how many years are guaranteed and all that kind of stuff. And so those things are really the more operative factor than the actual, you know, if somebody has a 10-year contract, you know, are they going to make it to the end of that contract or not? There's no guarantee, and there's really no guarantee for any of these contracts. I mean, these contracts are you know, they got language in there on both sides, and so sometimes when you hear somebody say, you know, a coach is they've locked them up, it's not really a correct term. Ralph, I do think the combination of factors right now with the transfer portal and you know, the December signing date's only 4 years old, right? That started in 2017 where we had the December signing date. So that transfer portability, all those things like make stability more important than ever. If you're making a decision to fire a coach, you better be really sure that's the right thing to do for your program. And it also gives more importance to keeping your coach if you have someone who is very marketable.
Anything else, guys?
Thanks, Will. Thanks, John.